President Trump, taking to Twitter today, blasted the leak of questions from special counsel Robert Mueller's team. The president tweeted this, quote, "So disgraceful that the questions concerning the Russian witch hunt were leaked to the media. No questions on collusion. Oh, I see. You have a made-up, phony crime, collusion that never existed, and an investigation begun with illegally leaked classified information. Nice." Joining us tonight, Victoria Toensing and Joe diGenova, the founding partners of the diGenova and Toensing law firm. Great to have you both with us. I get half credit, Joe. Come on, I get half credit.
You're doing fine, Lou.
Oh, thank you, sir. Good to see you. Victoria, great to see you. This is so infuriating to see these questions obviously leaked, Victoria, from the special counsel team. What in the world is going on?
Well, I'm not as upset, Lou, about the leak of them, although it's probably better that it hadn't been leaked, as I am at the questions. Let's do some legal analysis, because everybody talking about it seems to not address the legal analysis. The president here's the term, is not readily available to be interviewed in any regular kind of case. That means the information sought has to be material or very important, and the evidence cannot be obtained in any other way using due diligence. So if there's an automobile accident and 3 people see it, one of them the president is never interviewed. That's just case law, clear and present case law. But here's what's important here, and it's so infuriating, and that is that all of these questions refer to conduct that is covered under Article 2 in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. This is what the president does. He can hire people and he can fire people. He can hire anybody on his staff and fire them, and he's not to be questioned about that. Or they're covered by executive privilege. The silly question about, well, what were you thinking when you were deciding to fire Michael Flynn? These are improper questions, and I'm embarrassed that anybody practicing law for more than 1 year created these questions for the president.
Well, in creating the questions for the president, leaking them against the president, and this goes on and on. And Joe, I've got to ask you, at what point do the attorneys for this president say we're going to engage the special counsel in court? This has got to be stopped. It's not going to be stopped out of decency or the integrity of the Republican Party leadership in either the House or the Senate. It's not going to be stopped by the integrity of anyone in the special counsel team, because they are left-wing acolytes of Obama and Clinton.
Well, I think what's going to happen is, if there's going to be a battle over this, it will happen when the president's lawyers tell Mr. Mueller that there isn't going to be an interview. And, of course, there shouldn't be, because there's not only bad faith on the part of the special counsel's office, but these questions are covered, as Victoria has said, by Article 2, executive privilege, and case law. The president's pardon power, for example, is unreviewable, and if he discussed it with anybody, it's not the special counsel's business. The president can discuss pardons with anybody he wants at any time, and it's unreviewable by Mr. Mueller. But here's something, Lou, that the president himself or his director of national intelligence can do tomorrow. Why, after these 3 men have leaked information to the press, do they still have security clearances? James Comey, James Clapper, and John Brennan. Tomorrow morning, the president should order the director of national intelligence to revoke the security clearances of those 3 men so that they no longer receive classified information briefings. That would be the way to start showing people that you're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, and it's got to happen. I can't understand if there is a mindset among his legal team that they don't want to further probe or prod the special counsel. But it seems pretty clear that the special counsel is not reacting to any initiative on their part. He doesn't have a crime. He doesn't have any evidence. And he is still trying to subvert the presidency of the United States.
Lou, earlier you said that it was a minor conflict for Rod Rosenstein to have written the memo to say fire Comey. No, it's a major conflict. I have no idea how he is still overseeing Bob Mueller for an issue that we disagree with. We don't say that there's any obstruction here, that these issues can't be looked at, the firing of anybody, but Mueller's saying it. Look at these questions. So how can Rod Rosenstein be overseeing Mueller for the issue of firing Comey, for goodness sake?
How could he possibly use the word as well, Joe? Extortion, referring to to the House of Representatives, specifically Chairman Mark Meadows of the Freedom Foundation and its members drafting articles of impeachment. He knows very well who they are. He said they were nameless. No, they're not. They're standing up and telling him point blank his conduct is reprehensible and it's got to end. There will be no more stonewalling.
Lou, you have hit on something very important. Just so your listeners know, today Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, when he heard about this letter being drafted by the Freedom Caucus, that they'd start to draft articles of impeachment against him as Deputy Attorney General for refusing to turn over documents that Congress has a constitutional right to see through oversight. He said that the department would not be extorted. That is a firing offense, by the way, for saying that, because it shows an ignorance of the Constitution that a Deputy Attorney General would say that Congress is acting extortionately because they are demanding to see documents that they have a right to see under the Constitution is so outrageous and so unacceptable from a constitutional officer like that, that it shows that he is unfit legally and professionally to continue in the office of Deputy Attorney General, and he should resign.
At this point, Joe, I find that insightful, and at the same time, I have to tell you, I think there is very little reason to see anyone in the upper management of the Department of Justice to remain at their posts. Their conduct is absolutely appalling.
It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment.
It is all of that. It is also great to see you both, and I appreciate you both being with us. Thank you, Victoria, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The abuses at the Obama Justice Department and FBI in front of the FISA court go to the bone of the function of the Justice Department. And the key to this, the key to the lying and the misrepresentations to the FISA court is going to be John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and the senior officials at the Justice Department. When there is a federal grand jury, in addition to the Nunes Committee investigation into the State Department, people will be forced by subpoena to give testimony as senior Department of State officials who are currently there or who have left. I think it will be demonstrated that they colluded with Clinton administration representatives and campaign officials and people like Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer, who passed on completely unreliable information, which they hoped would be passed along to the FBI, and in fact it was, and that information was used fraudulently to obtain FISA warrants. This is why, Lou, the only way to get these answers, once the Nunes Committee is done, is to have a federal grand jury force all of these State Department people, CIA, DNI people, FBI, DOJ senior people, under oath in a grand jury. It's the only way we're ever going to get the full story.
And to add another twist, Lou, Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, is a witness. He should be recused from this altogether because he's going to have to testify why he signed a FISA application.
Comey and Strzok and all of those people, including senior Justice Department officials, this was a plot, a brazen plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton in the email server case, to ensure that she became president. And if by chance she lost, part of the plot was to frame Donald Trump with a false crime. And that's why the Steele dossier was used. It was designed to create a false narrative about Trump and his people and to be used ultimately against them if Hillary Clinton lost. This is why this is the single most important scandal of the last 50 years, because senior DOJ and FBI officials engaged in conduct that was designed to corrupt an American presidential election. It wasn't the Russians who corrupted the presidential election. It was the American officials at the Department of Justice and the FBI.
There was coordination between Loretta Lynch's DOJ and the FBI. How do you know? Well, I mean, we know because we have a number of documents, a growing body of evidence, Brian, that now would suggest that Director Comey, who under sworn testimony a number of times have said there was no coordination between Loretta Lynch's DOJ and our FBI investigation. Not only was that false, but we know that over and over again now we have emails that would suggest that that testimony was false and at best misled the American public, at worst was lying to Congress. And here we are today with emails, text messages that says that even the no coordination message that Director Comey put out on that infamous day in July was actually suggested by the Department of Justice.
Here's the text. Timing looks like hell, Peter Strzok says to Lisa Page. Will appear choreographed. All major news networks literally leading with the AG to accept the FBI director's recommendation. Yeah, this is awful. Nothing we can do about it. I mean, this is like a third-rate movie playing out on text messages. These people are supposed to be guarding our secrets and seeking truth and justice. They don't even know how to secure their own texts.
Well, it's interesting that they would go back and forth saying that the timing looks awful, but there's even another email from the Department of Justice that would indicate that on how to articulate the exoneration of Hillary Clinton. And so as we look at that, there's also additional evidence that would suggest that DOJ narrowed the scope of the Hillary investigation to make sure that she was exonerated.
Mark Meadows, thanks for joining us. Keep that staff working because we need to get the facts. Appreciate it.
I think we have ample facts revealed to us during this last year and a half that high-ranking people throughout the government, not just the FBI, high-ranking people had a plot to not have Hillary Clinton, indicted so that she could remain the flawed candidate that she was, which in my view was stupidity. And they also had and even this Strzok guy talked about this. They had a backup plan to basically frame Donald Trump. And that's what's been going on. This whole thing, in my view, is just total phony. I mean, how would you feel, someone out there in America land, if somebody was just had a phony scheme about you and went on for months and months and months?
Yeah,
and that's what's going on.